this afternoon as well. Petroleum consumers eagerly awaiting the arrival of cheaper fuel from the United Arab Emirates would have to wait a bit longer, despite assurances by the Energy Ministry that the initial consignment will arrive this week. The Lands and Natural Resources Ministry has pushed the arrival date further. This was after it held a crunch meeting with the Chamber of Mines.
On the 10th, 11th, 12th of January, the first consignment of finished products is going to arrive in this country from the United Arab Emirates. All the necessary agreements that needed to be executed has been executed. A lot more interest have been shown by other oil traders. And whatever it is that government is doing is intended to complement what it is that the private sector who are operators within the space are providing, just so that we can take some pressure off the dollar, okay, and make it available to other people who ordinarily would not be getting, and hence increasing the pressure on the city.
I want to bring in now Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, energy policy strategist. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on the polls, and Happy New Year as well. We'll be listening shortly to the Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister, but first I just want to take your thoughts on this, well, if you want to call it a shifted goalpost or timeline, whichever way you want to describe it, but it's certain that this arrangement will not work, at least not for this week.
Yeah, thank you very much, Blessed, and good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers out there, and Happy New Year to you, and many happy returns as well. Thanks for having me once again. Yes, it is such a news. It's like a U-turn, and I don't think consumers are going to welcome that. They will take it with a pinch of salt. And the reason being that just a few days ago, if you remember, some announcement was made, a kind of announcement that's sought to suggest that, because of the arrival of this particular deal, about $200 million was to be made available. It will be done in segmental basis within the first quarter. We're told that January, about $80 million was going to be auctioned to the, PSP, that is petroleum service providers. And then subsequently, February, March, we're going to have $60 million each, being auctioned. This is woefully inadequate, Blessed, if you ask me. But I held my gun. I was saying that consumers shouldn't be worried, because I thought probably this magnificent deal, a deal breaker, this kind of deal that we are all waiting for it to come to fruition, to see how it's going to pan out, that now that we are seeing that it may delay, then it's going to put a lot of pressure. There have to be, at this moment in time, some contingency measures, undoubtedly. Anything short of contingency measures put in place that will assure consuming public that, if the deal is not coming, then there should be some assurances that this kind of announcement that we made, that we can increase, the auction rate, the content that was supposed to auction. If it is not available at this moment and the deal is also going to delay, then, it's going to be more pressure. And the reason why actually we had, drastic reduction in the fuel, not drastic reduction, but at least some kind of reduction in the fuel price at the pump, is just because of the supply of the greenback, Blessed, the dollar. If you notice, Bank of Ghana, they were able to meet about 70 to 80% of the PSPs, petroleum service provider, what they need or what they needed to have to import this finished product. And that's actually why we had the market, raining some coolants, where consumers, actually has some relief. But if it comes to standard, we're going to have these same PSPs are going to go outside the market to source the rest of the dollars, which is in quantum-wise so huge. Then I can tell you that we're going to have much, much more pressure at the pumps coming by the end of this month. However, I think maybe they will have some contingency measures. If some contingency measures are put in place, then we can forestall potential, high prices at the pump.
And Doc, I just want to take your thoughts on the possible impact. What do you fear as that likely implication?
Yeah, so what I fear is we'll go back potentially to where we came from. Remember, we came from a point where pump prices were at record high that we hadn't seen before. And it was a record high because, I mean, it was just because of the supply-demand dynamics of the greenback, the dollar. The dollar was simply not available. It is crystal clear that our reserves are getting dwindled. And that is why we always call for sustainable measures. This kind of measure, I don't buy it. I don't advise that. But I felt it was just needed to cool down the pumps when it was so hot. And so that's how come I said, okay, that's a good deal to go. But should there be a delay and it is elongated, and the delay is elongated, what we're likely to see is that we're going to see again so much pressure on the greenback. Unless, of course, we have some reserves somewhere where we can pump into the system again. If you don't have any reserve anywhere, and Bank of Ghana stick to, the projection or the kind of auction rate that they spelled out earlier on, then it's going to be difficult. Imagine we are talking about $400 million on a monthly basis to be able to import this finished product. That's about 20% of the entire import bill of the nation. So that's so huge. And so this policy, I said, okay, if it's coming to relieve this kind of pressure that is perpetually being put on the dollar, then that's a good deal. However, if as it stands now, like I said, if it delays, then what we're likely going to see is that there's going to be massive pressure on the greenback, the dollar. And massive pressure means that if Bank of Ghana is not able to meet the 70 to 80% of what the petroleum service providers require to import this finished product in the month of January, February, then we're going to see pressures at the pumps again. And there's no two ways about that. So there have to be some contingency measures, and they have to do that swiftly and announce that swiftly that something is being done. Maybe they have to revise the auction, whatever auction that they mentioned earlier on. They could end up revising it. If they revise it to give this assurance, I think it could be better. And blessed, what normally happens is that in the market like this, when the market is volatile, it's so susceptible to the kind of hikes that we don't need. And so that's why I'm saying that an assurance is required for the consuming public to be rest assured that something is being done. Because this policy was so much, talked about, and everybody believed in that. And so I don't think there should be any delay. If there's any delay on it, with respect to its implementation, I think the consequences will be dire to the consuming public, unless we have contingency measures.
Would you urge government to completely abandon plans to go for the cash for the gold for oil policy?
Yeah, so that's a difficult one. Left to be alone, I think there are better options to go, blessed, than to go for this kind of trade. If, assuming Ghana, we were the custodians of our gold, if I say custodians, we should have substantial share. Players who benefit in this kind of exchange, they have so much reserve. So if it is gold, if it is oil, you should have the reserve available. Right now, we need about a minimum of 200 ounces of gold on a monthly basis to be able to meet the entire import bill that the PSP need. Where are we going to get that? And Bank of Ghana, they have to buy it. So I don't want to preempt it, but what I was saying is that this policy will succeed if they actually go into a very good agreement with wherever we're going to buy this gold from. And so if you buy it at a competitive rate, that we can also resell it to UAE, and we have some margin. That margin will be cascaded to the pump. Other than that, it doesn't really make tangible sense. If we have the gold and we have a market for it, gold is sold in dollars. We can sell it, get the market, do whatever we want to do with it. However, like I said, the caveat is if we had so much money, if you have so much, the reserve, that is good. When I say reserve, Ghana has reserve, but how much is our percentage? A lot of it is royalty, just like the oil that we have. And that's how come Bank of Ghana and the other players have to come in to buy this gold from from those who extract it from the down, those who have authority to extract it from the down. If he had that massive, let's say more than 50% of the Ghanaian gold shares into the government of Ghana, then that's a policy that won't be any pressure. And I'm very much hesitant in such a policy because, example, what has just happened, blessed, anything that happened within the chain, within the supply chain, whether shortfall within the Bank of Ghana to meet its requirement, shortfall from the UAE or whatever, there's bound to be pressure. And so that's why we call for sustainable measure. And what is a sustainable measure here? We need to have a local-based refinery that is critical, that is efficient, that can churn out these products. We don't need to go and sell this product. Anytime you are dependent on your energy needs from external parties, I mean, you are exposed. I mean, your energy security is exposed. And that's actually what is coming to happen if you are not very careful.
No cause for alarm, is it? Because, well, some say if you look at what's happening to the cost of fuel on the market, it's performing quite appreciably. So, well, no need to worry, even if we don't have the consignments coming through at least this week.
Yeah, so at the moment, I really don't know how much stock we have. If you have stock that can last up to January, up to the point where they can resolve whatever bottlenecks that are holding or that is holding this particular deal to be implemented swiftly, then we shouldn't have that much problem. But see, this kind of break is a warning. It's a warning sign for us that we need to have a plan B to the extent that let's have sustainable measures. So if you say that there shouldn't be any cause for alarm, no. I think I'm not going to sound alarmed here, but I'm just saying that we have to be extremely cautious. If you look at the quantum that we need to import these finished products, then we must as well have that amount to be able to give to the BDCs and OMCs or whatever, the petroleum service providers, to be able to import that amount. What I'm saying is, why the fuel prices drop within those windows is because Bank of Ghana were able to supply about 70 to 80% of the BDC requirement. Finito. As simple as that. And if they are not able to meet that requirement, the pressure is going to come back again. This is what I'm talking about. So yes, we are on our mark. We are just waiting. We just want to wait and observe the situation. And I just pray that whatever issue that is causing this slight delayance in terms of this swift implementation, I mean, it is resolved as soon as possible. But we should look at sustainable measures. These measures, I think, they are not long-term sustainable.
Right.
Yeah.
And very finally, you know the market too well. You've been engaging the BDCs and other stakeholders. What sense do you get from the private community as to what it is that government intends to do with this gold for oil policy?
Yeah. So there's a bit of let me say uncertainty. But the good thing from the side of the government, I think they've done a lot of communication. That's what I called for earlier when they announced it. I said, see, we already have a robust downstream sector in place that is performing well. And I put a record, and I think I commend them with their regulator, MPA, for ensuring that we didn't have any erratic fuel supply during those days. And it's not that we are out of the woods, blessed. We just took ourselves off the pressure. And so we shouldn't just say that we are out of the woods. So whatever that is done to be able to keep this pressure within this envelope, we have to keep that pressure without letting it to expose. So the fear is we shouldn't do anything that will endanger this downstream. Blessed, downstream controls about 7 to 8% of our GDP as we speak now. It's huge. It has grown phenomenally over the years after deregulation. And so whenever we are bringing a policy, we should make sure that the policy should be complementary. It shouldn't come to disintegrate the downstream. And I think I want to believe that they have involved the downstream players. Anything that is that is short of involving the downstream players in this deal, for them to buy into it, to accept the concept that it's not going to destroy anybody's business, that is good. But if there's any fault in terms of implementation, whereby it impacts negatively on the activities of the downstream, I think it's going to be very bad, and that's what we should work towards to avoid. That it shouldn't impact negatively. I mean, the gains shouldn't be disproportionate,
right,
to the potential negative impact, on the downstream.
Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, I'm grateful for your time. Happy New Year once again.